Are you ready to do some decal fun? So if you caught the last video, then you know that I recently purchased this cute casita camper. And now it's time to create some fun things for it. So today we are going to make the decal that goes on my trash bin. And we're going to make a little trailer trash. So last week we created the design, and then this week we're going to apply it here. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. I'm Christy from Crafty Christy's Creations, and I'm here to help you master your silhouette. So let's dive into Silhouette Studio, and we'll pick up where we left off last week. Okay. Here is the trailer trash design that we created from scratch. If you have not, if you didn't watch that video, I'll go ahead and link it above here. And then I'll also link it in the description below so you don't miss that video because you need to know how we got here, right? Okay, so I went ahead and I already measured the side of my trash bin here. So something to note about the trash bin, you see how it's tapered down. So when I measured, it is 6 inches across at the bottom, but it's like much higher at the top. But knowing that the bottom is 6, but I'm going to try to center it. So I really, like in the center here, it's about 7 inches, but I'm going to stick with that 6-inch mark. Since it's tapered, I want to make sure everything fits on there. So I've got everything here. Remember, we made this a compound path, so it's all just one design. I could go ahead and release that compound path, but you'll see when you do that, it gets rid of all of the interior pieces here. You could certainly go through and select each one and delete it and go through all that if you want. Or when we created the design, I would have, I also told you, if you wanted the trailer and the trash to be a different color, I would not have made this one complete compound path. I would have left those separate. So I'm just going to go ahead and make that a compound path again. And if you get really confused with all of these different things that you can do with the modify panel, I've got some great cheat sheets, and I've got those linked down below to help you with all those modify panel things that you can do there, the different functions. But anyways, let's jump back. So let's go ahead and just resize this design. I have the ratio aspect locked, and I'm going to change the width. I only want it to be 6 inches. And then the height is going to just adjust automatically to maintain the proportion. And that's it. That's all I have to do to get this set up. Now I am cutting on my electrostatic mat. So I do have to make some changes here to the cutting mat. I'm going to choose the Cameo 5, and you can see when I do that, it just kind of automatically pulled up my cutting mat as the electrostatic mat because that's the last one that I used. And then when I'm using this, I also like to show the grid lines. That just makes it easier for me to see where I'm putting things on my map. Now, I'm going to move this around, but I just want to show you what it looks like. Here you can see, I've got it on here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the electricity. But you see I've got this section here that's missing, but I've already measured this area. And I just want to show you this area down here. Let's do it this direction. Is about 9 inches. So I'm actually going to cut my design down here on this part. So that way it's going to cut, and I can use this kind of scrap and save this top part for something bigger. So I'm going to cut at the bottom of my electrostatic mat. So then when we look back here, when I'm talking about we're going to cut down on this corner here, so I'm going to pull my design down to this corner. Oh, and it's got the snap to grid. I'm going to turn that off. I just want to show grid. And then the other thing I am going to do is add a bounding box around my design. So that's this red box here. That's my weeding box. So that way I can use the rest of my vinyl, save it for scrap, and I can just peel this design off. So I've got that on there. That all looks really good. The other thing I do with my electrostatic mat, it doesn't go all the way to the edge. You can see this red line here is the cut border. And then I know I've got my rulers down here. There's 12, 11, 10, here's 9. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, that should be fine. It came over to that 9-inch line over here, so we're totally good. I can actually probably take this design. It's rather square, but I think it is a little bit taller than it is wide. So this is just me trying to preserve as much vinyl as possible. And so I'm just going to turn it to do it that way. You know. Okay, so this is all one color. I want it to cut everything out. It's going to cut this box here is my weeding box. And then it's going to cut around the entire design. It looks right here, it looks really thick. That's because we've got 2 really thin lines right in there. So this is actually going to be a separate piece. The wheel will be separate. So we'll just have to be careful as we weed that out. But it's all ready to go. I can use my simple panel. And I'm going to come down here to vinyl. Oop. And the Silhouette Decal 651 is what I'm using. And I am going to do as a cut. It is still just waiting on my machine to connect here. You can see at the bottom here, now it's checking, and there it goes. So now it should start to detect my tool that's in there. There we go. And there's the settings. I like to turn this up to a blade of 2 and keep everything else there. Now all we have to do is jump over and we can just go ahead and load everything in and get started. Okay, I've got this loaded here. We're just gonna slide this in. The electricity on here is holding everything nicely. I don't have to make any more adjustments. So now we can come back to Silhouette Studio, and now all I have to do is hit send. It gives you some reminders here. We're just gonna hit send. And now it's gonna go ahead and start cutting our design, and it's gonna cut it down on the bottom half. So there it goes cutting. I am not going to make you sit here and watch it cut everything. So we'll be back when it's done cutting. Okay, so it's just cutting that weeding box around the edge, and then it'll be all done. And then we can go ahead and get things started. So it's done cutting. And then I always like to check my cut. I can come in here and try to pull out the center of the A, and wow, that popped out. I don't even know where it went. So everything looks good there. We can go ahead and unload. We can pull this one out. I'm going to turn off the mat, and then I can pull this over here, and I'm just going to weed out my design. So we've got the weeding box. I know it might be difficult to see it here, but I can just go ahead and pull out the excess. And I did this in like a teal color. That is, I'm doing like a teal and gray on the inside of my camper. So this isn't quite the teal that I was looking for, but it, it's on the trash can. It sits in a cabinet, so like you're not going to see it that much anyways, but I thought this was such a great idea that this was totally worth it. And then we can just peel out the centers. you can see that this line around here, this gap was so small, but it actually cut it really nicely and it looks fantastic. I was a little concerned that maybe that was too thin, but if I was cutting this out of anything besides, like if I was cutting this out of paper, that'd probably be too thin. But to cut it out of vinyl, this works perfectly. So those are some things too, and as you're designing, you have to kind of think about the gaps and think about the material that you'll be using, because that does make a bit of a difference when you're designing stuff. Okay, easy as that. It's all weeded out. And I don't know what the heck I have on here. Okay, so we're also going to be trying out some new transfer tape. I picked this up at Walmart. It is Hello Hobby brand. This is a standard grip transfer tape, just what they had at Walmart. So we are going to try this out for the first time and see how it goes. I like to use, you know, on this it's not going to matter so much if you use clear or, you know, what color you use. It's not really that big of a deal. But I like that it's got these grid lines that I can use to cut. I'm just trying to make a cut there, and then let's see how long of a piece I need. I'll come down, get this straight, and then I can cut on this line here. So let's see if I can cut in a straight line. The grids help to cut in a straight line, you know? Alright, we'll just cut this out to that line there. One thing I will mention, and I didn't think about this when I bought my trash bin, and then I got home and I was like, oh shoot. Because I'm applying vinyl to it, this has a bit of a texture on it. So I already know this isn't going to stick as well as it would if it was non-textured. So keep that in mind when you're picking things that you're going to apply vinyl. You really want something that doesn't have texture. Things will stick better. But we are going to give this a shot anyways. So I'm just trying to peel the backing off of this, and that is not turning out to be a very easy task. Okay, I got a corner peeled. That took way longer than I would like to admit. Okay, so I'm just gonna peel some here to show. And then I know, like, I've got it lined up at the bottom. I'm gonna try to line up over everything here. And then I can just press this up. Okay, let me find my scraper. Okay, I'm just going to use my scraper tool on here to try to keep things nice and straight as I peel the liner off of this transfer tape. And I'm trying to make this nice and straight on here, getting out all the air bubbles while I peel this down. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to burnish this on here really well. I feel like there's quite a bit of air bubbles under here, but that's probably just me because I'm trying to hurry. All right, that looks good. And now let's see if I can peel this up and take everything with it. Okay, beautiful. But you see on my vinyl, it might be hard to tell, but I have a couple bubbles right here, and then there's a few more right in here. So when I go to apply this to my trash can, I'm just going to try to burnish that out really well. And then as far as this goes, I can leave this just like it is, and then when I go, if I want to use this long strip, I can either cut this out and then use it, or just use my pick scan mat to place things. You know, there's lots of ways that I can do it, but for now I'm just going to leave it like that. Off screen, I went ahead and did some rubbing alcohol on here to clean it off, let it dry. And now to add my decal. So this is a tapered trash can. It's tapered this way and this way. So I already know that this is not going to line up straight. So I'm just going to do my best, find a center line, and just know that the letters are probably not going to be that straight. And then I'm going to start in the center, and I'm just going to try to burnish that. The nice thing is this is kind of flimsy enough that I can make it think it's straight. But again, remember I said this is textured, so I'm not going to be surprised if I have a hard time getting this to stick down. And I might have to abandon this trash can and try a different one for my trailer, because you can see, look at this, these are not sticking at all because it is so darn textured. And that was a fail on my part. So just know you don't want it textured, because it's not going to come off. It's not going to stick on there. Yeah. Nope, it's not going to stick. I could sit here and burnish it all day long. That texture just makes it really hard for that adhesive to stick on there. So this project is going to be a fail on this trash can. So I'm just going to take this, put it back on my transfer tape. Get this out of the way. I'm going to apply this back to my transfer tape. And I'm just going to save this decal. I'll just have to get a different trash bin to apply this to. So I will just save my decal and apply it to a different trash bin. And what do I think about this transfer tape so far? I think it was a little difficult to get off the liner to get started to peel it, but it seems like it's pretty sticky and tacky. So I think this transfer tape's going to work great. But there is our trailer trash decal, and a word of advice: pick a trash bin that has no texture so that it will actually work. Okay, well, you know, things don't always work out, and this is me showing you in real time how this works, or rather how it failed, because I didn't think about the texture on the trash bin when I picked it out. So I will have to go back and grab a smooth trash bin so I can get this attached. But we went ahead and cut out our trailer trash decal, and it turned out great. So there you have it. And remember, if you are interested in, I showed you about how when we looked at the design, it was a compound path and everything filled in. And if you want more information about those modify panel things, go ahead and grab the link is in the description for my modify panel cheat sheets, and those will serve you well. So I'll see you in the next video.